Hello, YouTubers. This is Level-Headed News, and I'm your host, Brenda. I found an interesting article that I thought I would bring to you. You might find it as interesting as I do. This is off of theburningplatform.com, and the URL to this article is in the description of this video if you'd like to do further research. I'll go ahead and read it to you here. It says 30 blocks of Black Friday. It's now been almost 3 weeks since Donald Trump's shocking to mainstream propaganda media outlets victory over Hillary Clinton, her establishment cronies in the presidential election. Despite an overwhelming electoral victory, the furious liberals and their captured media outlets have been conducting a full court press to somehow overturn the verdict of the American people through intimidation of electors, recounts funded by unknown parties, and Soros-funded violent protests in liberal enclaves across the country. Meanwhile, those of us who work for a living and pay taxes, allowing the free shit army to protest at their leisure, have continued to go to work in order to make money to support our families, just as we did before Trump was elected. As I've detailed in dozens of previous articles about the 30 blocks of squalor, West Philadelphia is a product of great society, welfare state, and 60 years of total Democrat control of Philadelphia government. While white working middle class Americans voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump on November the 8th, the reality challenged voters in Philadelphia cast 82% of their votes for a corrupt establishment hack and only 15% for Trump. The black voters on the 30 blocks of squalor, ignored and taken for granted by Democrat politicians since the 1950s, cast 93% of their votes for crooked Hillary. It is baffling how these people would continue to vote for their own servitude, trapped in squalor, dependent upon the state for survival, and wallowing in ignorance produced by government indoctrination public schools. The Scully Hill, or I'm not sure that's pronounced correctly, the Shuney Kill Expressway, I'm not sure, has been a nightmare in the morning lately. So I've been taking the alternate route down Westchester Pike through 69th Street and then 30 blocks of squalor to my parking garage at 34th and Walnut. I normally take Chestnut Street for the 30 blocks because it's 3 lanes, but lately it has been a construction blocking the left lane, ignorant double parkers in the right lane, and moon-sized crater potholes in the center lane. Therefore, I decided to navigate the Milbourne speed trap for taxpayers while rapes and murders are happening blocks away, and take Market Street under the Market Frankfurt L to my parking garage. Despite being only 1 lane in each direction, very few commuters are brave enough to face this gauntlet, so the route is relatively fast. The label Black Friday is fitting along this putrefying haven of self-induced squalor. Of course, Black Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday also applies. This urban ghetto kill zone is not exactly diverse. Virtually 100% of the occupants of the crumbling hovels along Market Street from 63rd to 39th are inhabited by black folks, physically and mentally trapped in poverty, created, sustained, and expanded by the politicians they continue to vote for decade after decade. Democrat politicians like Obama and Clinton make one photo op appearance during their presidential campaign and then ignore this war zone for the next 4 years. It's an automatic for, or try this again, the black vote is an automatic for Democrats. It's amazing what doling out free shit for votes can accomplish. Even though residents of these West Philly neighborhoods are sustained through food stamps, Section 8 housing, free school, breakfast, lunches, Medicare, SSDI, Obamacare, and subsidized phones and TVs, they are still enslaved in ignorance and dependency. Democrat welfare policies haven't lifted anyone out of poverty. A recent Pew report details the utter failure of Democrat tax and spend dogma. Average household income fallen by 44% to 55% since 2000, just over $13,000. The overall poverty rate in Philadelphia is 26.5%, with the rate exceeding 50% in West Philly. The true unemployment rate in West Philly is above 40%. when the not in the labor force fraudulent adjustments are removed. More than 50% of teenagers drop out of high school before graduating. More than 60% of households are headed by single mothers. More than 75% of all children are born out of wedlock. There are over 2,500 violent crimes per year in West Philly, or almost 7 per day. You are 4 to 6 times more likely to be robbed or murdered in West Philly than in the rest of the country. Over 77% of all homicide victims in Philadelphia are Black, with over 90% of homicides committed by Blacks. The Philadelphia School District is a bad joke. They spend $66 million on a new West Philly high school, and SAT scores drop to functionality illiterate levels versus scores achieved in the decrepit 100-year-old school that was replaced. The schools in West Philly have increased their graduation rates while PSSA and SAT scores have fallen. That's curious. It's almost as if the overpaid union drone teachers are being told by the administration to just matriculate. I'm not sure I pronounced that word correctly. Morons out into the world so Obama can ply them with student loan debts as they enroll in colleges without ability to add, spell, speak, or think. The school district is bankrupt. The teachers' pension plan is 54% underfunded. The schools are crumbling as the below average union teacher and bloated administration suck up all the funds that aren't being siphoned by corrupt Democrat politicians. There are more Philadelphia politicians in prison than in office. The politicians pretend their Ponzi scheme is viable by passing outrageous taxes on cigarettes and soda to sustain the unsustainable. The fact these taxes predominantly hurt the poorest people in West Philly is of no concern to these corrupt liberal Democrats. I usually only travel on Market Street at night after work when the Schooley Hill is jammed, that highway. So driving under the Market Frankfurt L in the morning was a real eye-opener. Since there was very little traffic, I was able to observe the surroundings in all their putrid glory. The wretched excuse for residential housing along this highway of hell must be seen to be believed. At least 50% of the housing is uninhabitable, with plywood functioning as the windows on every other dump. Architecture is now nothing but rat-infested, dilapidated, abandoned eyesores, periodically occupied by pharmaceutical using dredges of society. A heavy rainstorm is capable of causing a free-fall collapse of these ghetto monstrosities. At 7:15 a.m. on my way to work, the other blatant apparent characteristic along Market Street, in addition to seeing no black men rushing to work, is the proliferation of roll-down steel security shutters. Every single business, no matter how pathetic, must employ these steel shutters to keep the rambunctious youths from stealing them blind. Even the Not Your Mama daycare center needs security shutters. Every house has steel bars over the windows. Think about that for a moment. No businesses in my town require security shutters. No houses in my neighborhood require steel bars over the windows. Why has this block community become so despoiled and lawless that robbery, theft, and murder are so commonplace it requires every business to be locked down like a prison? How little self-respect and civic pride do these people have to just heave their garbage on the streets where they live? People who live like animals can never assimilate into normal working society. The ability to reason and control our urges is what's supposed to separate us from the animals. I'm shocked there are any businesses operating in this third world hellhole. There are no Starbucks, no Apple stores, no Gucci handbag stores, no Barnes & Noble, no banks, no jewelry stores selling wedding rings. The 30 blocks of squalor has 2 Checkers, several donut shops, dozens of corner bars, nail salons, fried chicken joints, Chinese takeout places, some Muslim retail outlets, smoke shops, liquor stores, storefront daycare centers, check cashing establishments, tax returns preparation specialists to process those earned income tax credits, and multiple government subsidized social service facilities. Are any of these businesses being run by a black person? Despite tens of millions siphoned from taxpayers and redistributed to agencies formed to create Black entrepreneurs, there are virtually no Black-owned businesses in West Philly. The culture of ignorance and dependency prohibits the flourishing of any entrepreneurial spirit in the Black community. Shockingly, entrepreneurs must be able to do math, write complete sentences, speak the language, and think. This eliminates 99% of all Black people in West Philly. With rampant crime, drug deals, and gunfire reverberating all along the 30 blocks of squalor, it takes either brave or profoundly stupid white and Asian entrepreneurs to stay in business. 8 houses were hit with gunfire 2 nights ago. Just over a week ago, a man was leaving one of the Checker fast food joints at 53rd and Market when he got hit by a stray bullet as the feral animals conducted their drug business in a hail of gunfire that blew out the front door of a white-owned steak shop, leaving 14 bullet casings strewn along the garbage-filled streets of squalor. Human life is meaningless to thugs who have grown up fatherless, uneducated, unsupervised, unloved, and unable to envision a way out. More government programs will never cure what ails this community. The police, with good reason, no longer venture into parts of West Philly and North Philly after dark. They wait until the killings are conducted, draw the white chalk outlines, and enclose the scene with yellow crime tape. The perpetrators are rarely, if ever, caught. Young, angry Black men with no jobs, no prospects, no intelligence, and no hope, shuffling along the filth-ridden streets of West Philly, are ripe for radicalization by the purveyors of Islam and Black Lives Matter domestic terrorist organizations. It should come as no surprise when Black men in West Philly start murdering in the name of Islam and as retribution for being suppressed by the white men. Those tough Philly gun laws don't seem to be deterring Black criminals from acquiring guns. The liberal mainstream media buries the stories of radical Islamic acts of terror and Black Lives Matter inspired attacks on Philadelphia police. Early this year, an ISIS-inspired Muslim ambushed a Philly police officer in West Philly, shooting him multiple times before being shot himself and apprehended. He said he did it in the name of Islam. Months later, after the Soros-funded Black Lives Matter terrorist inspired the slaughter of police officers in Dallas and Louisiana, a Black career criminal attempted to assassinate a female police officer in West Philly as she sat in her cruiser. He shot her 8 times, along with another police officer and 5 innocent civilians. One of the civilians was killed, along with the despicable shooter. He left a rambling note saying he hated police officers and was out to kill as many as possible. The 30 blocks of squalor in West Philly in general are a powder keg. Islamic stores and mosques are proliferating. A generation of angry young Blacks is taking its place. It's a matter of time before major Islamic terrorist attacks Philadelphia. Visitors to Philadelphia should know the best method for judging the safety of the route they are traveling. The more murals of Black people doing great things per square mile, the more likely you are to be assaulted, robbed, or shot. Several politicians consider progress, beautifying crumbling buildings with colorful murals glorifying Black accomplishments painted by white people who kill each other on the street corners. This mural on Market Street, overgrown with weeds and vines, is somewhat ironic, I guess, considering a Muslim tried to murder a police officer a few blocks away, and you can see a picture of that in this article. True grassroots anger and outrage at the election of Donald Trump, it would be happening along the 30 blocks of squalor. These are the people lowest on the totem pole and will be the most impacted by not having their sugar mama Clinton in the Oval Office. The rage and fury in West Philly is non-existent. No protests, no burning businesses, no reaction whatsoever. This reveals the true nature of the anti-Trump protests being run by Soros-backed professional protesters creating havoc in liberal bastions across the country. This is part of the left-wing agenda to disrupt the transfer of power and start a civil war in this country. Protesters led by professional anarchists utilizing useful idiot special snowflake college students are the real fake news, flogged by the lying mainstream media propaganda outlets. Like Obama and Clinton use the downtrodden folks living in West Philly to further their own selfish agendas. They promise to improve the lives of these people, but only mouth platitudes and sound bites. Obama has done nothing for West Philly during his 8 years of reign of terror or of error. Black employment is higher. Black households' income is lower. Black test scores are lower. Black crime is higher, and blacks continue to vote for their continued enslavement on the Democratic welfare plantation. Clear Montua a keystone zone and dump more taxpayer money down the rat hole, but he can't change the culture of ignorance, and money will be wasted like the billions before it. Donald Trump has promised to bring back jobs to inner city ghettos like West Philly. I personally don't believe it is possible to overcome 3 generations of learned dependency, ignorance, unwillingness to work, men not taking responsibility for their children, pervasive drug use, and cities run by corrupt Democratic politicians with no inclination to improve the lives of these people. The warped welfare state incentives encourage blacks to have children out of wedlock, get married, and holding a job leads to losing Section 8 housing, loss of welfare compensation, and no more food stamps. The pain required to reverse decades of this welfare mentality is too much for any politician to withstand. The wailing and gnashing of teeth from the left would be unbearable. Try to use tax incentives to bring businesses back to West Philly and other urban ghettos across the country. Why would a legitimate business want to locate in West Philly? You can build it, but they won't come. Low-income housing complex built with taxpayer funds from the Obama's $800 billion 2009 porkless plan had 8 retail stores built into its lower level. 5 years later, none of the retail stores is occupied by business. Any business requiring consumers is silly. People need income to buy stuff. Businesses need employers or employees. The workforce in West Philly has no skills, no intelligence, no motivation, no interest in working for a living. The ever-present crime flourishing in West Philly will deter business owners and potential customers from entering this sanctuary of squalor. It will fail. The tough love method, which would require tremendous short-term pain, would involve the following: school vouchers allowing all students to choose any school in the city. The worst schools would fail and thousands of union teachers would lose their jobs. It would take years to reverse the damage done by government indoctrination center public schools. Welfare programs would need to be completely overhauled, eliminating incentives to having more children and not marrying. You get more of what you incentivize. Any able-bodied person receiving welfare benefits should be required to work for those benefits. The work could be cleaning up trash, repairing houses, grass cutting, weeding, removing graffiti, or interning at businesses to learn skills. Section 8 housing and other subsidized living expenses need to be phased out over a reasonable time frame. Self-respect, work ethic, and self-reliance need to be reinstituted in these communities. Being fat should not be a disability entitling you to SSDI. The requirements for qualifying for SSDI need to be tightened. Being depressed about your lot in life is not a disability. Of welfare entitlements needs to coincide with a reduction in benefits and tax breaks for corporations, hedge funds, and billionaires, while also reducing the warfare state by no longer policing the world. Shared sacrifice and belt tightening across all classes is the only way to avert economic catastrophe. Will it happen? Not a chance. Democrat politicians control every urban ghetto in the country. They will continue to pursue the same failed policies until the whole fetid complex of corruption collapses under the weight of debt, delusion, and decay. At best, West Philly will look exactly the same at the end of the Trump presidency. At worst, when the EDP cards stop functioning during the coming financial collapse, West Philly will burn. Then there is a caption here under a picture that says, no government of the left has done much for the poor as capitalism has. Even when it comes to redistribution of income, the left talks the talk, but the free market walks the walk. Most need. They need to stop being poor and on a mass scale, except by economy that creates vastly more wealth. Yet the political left has long had a remarkable lack of interest in how the wealth is created. Wealth exists somehow, and the only interesting question is how to redistribute it. By Thomas Sowell, Controversial Essays. I thought that article might interest you.